Advice from Aristotle to achieve prosperity. Let's examine the nature of housecraft and what the household it creates truly entails. The components of a household are human beings and goods and chattels. To understand the nature of a thing, we often study it in its simplest form. Following Hesiod, we start with the essentials: homestead first, and a woman, a plough ox hardy to furrow. The homestead is of utmost importance among our physical needs, and the woman holds a significant role among our free associates. Therefore, it is one of the tasks of housecraft to establish the proper relationship between man and woman. Concerning the occupations related to goods and chattels, the natural ones take precedence. Among these, agriculture holds the highest position as it cultivates the land. Extractive activities like mining follow in importance. Agriculture is regarded as the most honest of such occupations because the wealth it generates does not come from exploiting others, unlike trade and wage-earning jobs that acquire wealth with consent or war, which takes it by force. Agriculture is also considered a natural occupation, as all creatures receive sustenance from their mother by nature's arrangement, and humankind, like others, derive sustenance from the common mother, the earth. In addition to all this, agriculture significantly contributes to the development of a strong and resilient character. Unlike mechanical arts, which can weaken the bodies of those involved, agriculture toughens individuals through exposure and hard work, preparing them to face the dangers of war. Farmers' possessions lie outside the city's defenses, making them more vulnerable. When focusing on the human aspect of the household, women take precedence as it is the natural order of things, and there is nothing more natural than the bond between female and male. Nature aims to diversify its types, and this applies to every species. Neither females nor males can fulfill their purpose without the other, hence the necessity of the union between the sexes. In lower animals, this union is solely for procreation and lasts only until the offspring is produced. In domesticated and more intelligent animals, this union takes on a more complex form, marked by mutual help, goodwill, and cooperation. However, in humans, this complexity is most pronounced, as the cooperation between women and men aims not just at survival but at a happy life. Human beings have children not only to fulfill their duty to nature but also to receive a benefit in return. The toil they endure while they are strong, and their offspring is weak is repaid when their offspring grows strong and the parents become weak due to age. Nature, in its cycle of changes, fulfills its purpose of perpetuating existence, preserving the species when it cannot preserve the individual. Therefore, divine providence has designed the nature of both man and woman to complement each other in partnership. They possess faculties that are not always suited for the same tasks, but in some cases, these faculties may be opposite while still contributing to the same end. For example, Providence made man stronger and woman weaker, so that he, with his manly prowess, can protect the home, while she, with her timid nature, can watch over it. He brings in supplies from the outside, and she safeguards what lies within. In the realm of work, women were given sedentary patience but lacked the endurance for exposure, while men, though not as well suited for quiet tasks, have the vigor for active occupations. In the production of children, both parents contribute equally, but they play different roles in their upbringing. The mother nurtures, and the father educates. With this understanding, we can now look at the rules that should govern a man's treatment of his wife. The first and foremost rule is not to wrong her, as observing this ensures that he is less likely to be wronged by her in return. According to the Pythagoreans, common custom and the norms of humanity dictate that a husband should never wrong his wife, treating her as if she were a supplicant raised from the hearthstone. A man wrongs his wife when he associates with other women, which goes against the bond of marriage. Regarding the intimate aspects of marriage, wives should not pester their husbands nor be restless in their absence. Instead, husbands should encourage contentment in their wives, whether they are at home or away. Hesiod's advice to marry a maiden and teach her the ways of discretion is wise, as differences in ways and habits can hinder affection. Concerning adornment, it is not appropriate for souls to approach each other with borrowed personas, just as it is not suitable for bodies. Intimacy that relies on outward adornment is no different from the artificial charm of stage characters in their theatrical attire. True affection should not be based on superficial appearances. The most essential and valuable form of property, well suited for housecraft, is human resource, which refers to employees. Therefore, our first task is to acquire good employees. There are two types of employees: those in positions of trust and those who perform labor. Experience shows that the character of the young can be shaped through training. When we assign tasks to employees that are typically carried out by free individuals, it is not enough to just procure the employees. We must also raise and train them for these responsibilities. In our interactions with employees, we should neither allow them to be insolent nor treat them cruelly. Those employees who perform more skilled tasks should be given some honor, while those engaged in manual labor should receive an ample salary. Since wine can make men insolent, some may suggest denying it to workers altogether or reserving it for special occasions, as the Carthaginians do during their military campaigns. We can divide our treatment of workers into three aspects: work, chastisement, and food. If workers are given food but not given any work or discipline, they may become insolent. If they are made to work and disciplined but not provided enough food, it becomes oppressive and weakens them. The best approach is to give them work and an adequate amount of food. Paying workers is essential for maintaining control, and food serves as the form of payment for slaves. Workers, like other people, respond to better treatment with improved behavior, and virtue or vice should not go unrewarded. Thus, we must monitor our workers and tailor our rewards and punishments based on their conduct. The best laborers for a household are those from races that fall neither into complete passivity nor excessive boldness. Both extremes have their drawbacks. The spiritless cannot endure demanding work, and the high-spirited may resist authority and control. Celebrating festivals and providing treats are beneficial, particularly for the workers, as it enhances their enjoyment of life and their connection to the household. There are 4 essential qualities that a household head must possess in managing their property. Firstly, the ability to acquire wealth, and secondly, the skill to preserve what has been acquired. Otherwise, there is no advantage in gaining wealth, similar to bailing water with a leaky bucket or filling a wine jar with a hole at the bottom. Thirdly and fourthly, the knowledge of how to improve the property and effectively utilize it, as these are the purposes for which acquisition and preservation of wealth are pursued. It is crucial to classify everything we own properly, and the amount of productive property should exceed that of unproductive. Produce should be used in a way that doesn't risk all of our possessions at once. For safeguarding our property, adopting the Persian and Laconian systems is wise. However, Athenian housecraft has certain advantages. Athenians promptly use the proceeds of their sales to make new purchases, and smaller households do not keep idle deposits in storage. Under the Persian system, the master personally handled the entire organization and supervision of the household, a practice noted by Dion when observing Dionysus. It is a well-known fact that no one takes care of another's property as they would their own. Therefore, as much as possible, each individual should personally attend to their own affairs. There are 2 sayings worth mentioning in this regard. One from a Persian, who, when asked what conditions a horse best, replied, "His master's eye." The other saying is from a Libyan, who, when asked about the best manure, answered, "The master's footprints." Accordingly, both the master and mistress should provide personal supervision over their respective departments of household work. In smaller households, occasional inspections may be sufficient, but for larger estates managed through stewards, frequent inspections are necessary. Just as in any other matter, setting a good example is crucial for good stewardship, and if the master and mistress do not diligently attend to their estate, their deputies will likely not do so either. In addition to being morally commendable, such habits are conducive to effective management. The master and mistress would do well to rise earlier and retire later than their servants, treating their home like a city that is never left unguarded. They should not postpone tasks that need to be done, whether it is day or night. Rising before daylight is also beneficial, as it promotes a healthy habit and provides more time for managing the household as well as engaging in intellectual pursuits. For smaller holdings, adopting the Athenian method of disposing of produce is advantageous. On larger estates, after setting aside the amount for yearly or monthly expenses, the remainder should be handed to the overseers along with the necessary implements for daily or occasional use. Periodic inspections of tools and supplies should also be conducted to identify any surplus or shortages. When constructing a homestead, we must consider the needs of the livestock it will house and ensure their health and well-being. Providing for the stock involves important questions. What type of building is best for storing crops and clothing? How should we store dry crops, and how should we store the moist ones? How do we house the living animals, and what about the deceased ones? How can we accommodate both slaves and free individuals, women and men, foreigners, and fellow citizens? For the well-being and health of the inhabitants, the homestead should be well ventilated in summer and receive ample sunlight in winter. An ideal homestead with these features would be longer than it is deep, with its main front facing the south. On larger estates, it may be worth appointing a porter, who is incapable of other work, to monitor the coming and going of people and goods. To ensure that implements are readily available for use, it is advisable to adopt the Lacanian practice of keeping each tool in its designated place. This way, they will always be at hand and won't require searching when needed.